Welcome back. Half-time at the Amex, 1-0 to the Arsenal. And are they good value for that lead?
Yeah, I think they've started the game exactly how you want to start the game. If you're away from home, you want to keep it as controlled as you can, as tight as you can. But then, if you can get that early goal, then that forces Brighton to do something. And I think once they got the early goal, you know, they have sat back. They've made sure there's no space behind people like Thomas Partey for Adingra to run into. You know, they've been very solid in that 4-4-2 kind of low block, and it's worked out perfectly.
From a Brighton perspective, what have you made of it, Glenn?
A little bit passive, a little bit lacklustre. Probably shown Arsenal too much respect. But I think, like Wrighty mentions there, the way they've set up, I think they've shown Brighton respect. They've sat in, they've made it difficult. They know that's what Brighton struggle with at the Amex. So they've done that, and then they've worked on the counter-attack.
Latest academy product and star in the making in Ethan Nwaneri has scored the goal that separates the two sides. When we look at this, Ian, to be honest, you could see what Arsenal were trying to do in many respects. Was this, I suppose, what they deserved on possession alone?
Well, yeah, but the thing is, what we're seeing in this situation, obviously, it's brilliant for him, you know, to score the goal, you know, coming in such a big game. But what we're seeing is the movement, and Declan Rice is causing so many problems. You can see Declan Rice going in, the centre half's like so deep. So once Ethan now turns back into the field, there's no one to pick him up. Declan's taken the centre half out of play. And once this ball goes into Marino, you can see the amount of space he's got there. And that's, I think, the massive problem that they've got is Declan Rice. They don't know what to do with him. He's playing a lot higher up. And once this situation is, what I love about Nwaneri is he's not looking at anyone here. He's not looking to pass, he's looking to score. And delighted for him.
Sorry, I was going to say, first player to score more than one Premier League goal for Arsenal before his 18th birthday. And that celebration says it all, doesn't it?
Well, honestly, you can't imagine what it must feel like for him as an 18-year-old. You're talking about him, you're talking about Miles Lewis-Skelly, two players who are coming into an Arsenal side at a time where Arsenal need players to come in and perform.
Multiple Premier League goals, look at that, before turning 18. There's a whole host of stars involved in that list. From a Brighton point of view, what was your reading of that?
I think it's a really soft goal to concede. Really poor defend, especially from the whole of Brighton's left-hand side. I'm just going to pause it, and we can see Igor Julio and Estepinian, Brighton's left back and left centre-back, get sucked right out. And then the willingness to get back. Igor Julio chases the ball. Estepinian doesn't go with his runner. And then all of a sudden, Arsenal have created this, and they leave Van Hecke, who's had to come over. What does he do? He either goes to Nwaneri and he rolls it into Rice's path, or he holds his ground, which he does. And then I think we've got to pick up on the goalkeeping because it's a really, really soft goal. Yeah.
Declan Rice, I suppose, is revelling in that position that we knew when he first came across from West Ham, right?
Yeah, well, we know that Declan has been turned into a holding midfielder, but his natural game is to break forward and be forward.
Well, he's 41 on that list, yeah.
Absolutely, and you can see how high he's playing. You know, he's actually one of the first. He's starting to press some of the times because they know that if he can get, you could get Declan high up the pitch, winning the ball there. He can create and he can score.
Yeah, and that's with Jorginho, Marino next to him.
Exactly, but Jorginho more staying back and controlling the game. This is what Arsenal are trying to do now. They're going to just suck them on now and see if they can just pick them off.
Chances have been few and far between, or clear-cut chances, that is, from Brighton, but Simon Adingra had an opportunity here, Glenn.
Yeah, best opportunity they have from Brighton, and it's actually really good press, and a high press from Baliba wins it back, and from this point, it's really good play. Wonderful ball there, just back across, and unfortunately Simon Adingra can't quite sort his feet out as that comes flat across him. He's trying to sort of let it roll across him, and he just slashes at it, and unfortunately those opportunities don't come very often against Arsenal. But need much more second half, Brighton do. More life, more energy. Yes, more energy.
Yeah. Well, that's the big question, and no doubt the message that will be sent from Fabian Hürzeler to his Brighton players. They need a spark of some kind.
Studio this afternoon, Tim Howard, Robbie Mustoe. I'm Rebecca Lowe. Tim, where did that go wrong today for Arsenal?
Well, it was a little bit deflating. We talked at halftime that I didn't think Brighton was going to come out and be as bad in the second half. That's like a mantra of a lot of teams where you go in the dressing room and you just know they're going to give you more, particularly at home. And it was a worry for me because I thought Arsenal were on top of the game in the first half, and he didn't get that second goal. And mentioned again at halftime, you didn't want to be in a game where you had to hang on to the lead, and that's kind of what they did.
Rob?
I just didn't think they played very well today. They've been really good in the last few games. You know, I looked at the starting lineup and I know that there's been players out, been missing. But then today you add that Odegaard didn't start, Martinelli didn't start, on top of Havertz not being there, Saka not being there. I mean, it's, you know, the team's a little weaker each time, it seems, you know, and just didn't create enough today. Not enough creativity. Wasn't a great day for Trossard. What did Gabriel Jesus do? What did the team create? Like, very little. That one bit of quality that we broke down with the way that the goal they scored, Wanyeri's movement and the finish. Other than that, Arsenal created very little, which is the concern. All given, of course, the backdrop of how Liverpool are playing. That's not a horrific result away at Brighton 1-1. It's a draw. They didn't lose the game. But given how the others, the Reds, are doing, it seems a big gap now. How
much are they hanging on now in the title race for you?
Just barely. You know, I think I have this right. Fulham, Everton, and Brighton. They've drawn in recent times. I know on the odd occasion, like that's a good draw. I don't think you can draw those games. You've got to be winning those games to win the title. Look, I think Liverpool are somewhat cruising, particularly with the games in hand. Now we have to wait and see if Liverpool drop points or they lose a game. Okay, then Arsenal creep back in it. But Arsenal can't live this season just hanging on. It doesn't feel, Tim, like Arsenal can, the way that they're playing, they can go on a huge run of winning games. They need Liverpool to mess up big time, and we'll have to wait and see if that happens. Yeah.
Well, the take on Manchester United tomorrow, as I said. Stay with us.
And so, Ian, how are you feeling after all that?
Very disappointed, obviously, the way it's panned out, but I think you have to take you take the draw and you move on. There's not much you can do about it when you get a decision like that. From me, you know, in my opinion. But I think in the end, second half, again, you look to the bench, there's not too much other than Odegaard coming on, Martinelli. We just needed a little bit more firepower off the bench, maybe.
Yeah, there is one big talking point in that game, and it was the way that Brighton came back into the contest via the penalty spot. And that's because of this coming together between William Saliba and João Pedro. Glenn.
Well, I obviously disagree with Ian because I think it is a penalty. I think it's effectively a challenge. Saliba is just slightly late. Effectively, if it's on the floor and you get first to the ball and you make contact with the player, it's a penalty, and therefore, for me, that is a clear and obvious penalty.
You know what? I watched Kulusevski and Anthony Gordon today, and I'm thinking they've not given that as a pen, but they can give this as a pen. Where's the consistency? It's pathetic. Kulusevski's nearly broken his nose. He's just gone to try and head the ball here. It's like I don't know what to believe anymore. I don't know what, because I saw that one. It's not a pen, but this is. Come on, man! It's ridiculous. We've got the worst in Europe in respect of the decisions they make. They're the worst I've seen. These lot.
Well, let's try and get some clarity, shall we? Former Premier League referee Dermot Gallagher joins us now from the Match Centre. Always good to see you, Dermot.
Thank you.
So, let's have a look at that. What is your reading of that coming together, collision, headbutt, whatever way you want to put it?
I'm in Glenn's camp, actually, Manish. You know, I think he's unlucky. He goes to head the ball, there's no doubt about it. But if you see, the ball gets moved on there, he goes to try and head the ball, but he catches him on the head. This is a great angle. See, there's the ball moved away, then he comes in, catches him. I think once you do that, it's a foul for me. You know, if that happens in the halfway circle, the referee's going to give a foul. So I think a penalty. Tough call for the referee. You know, he took his time, he run it through his head, and I don't mind that. But I think he's got it right.
Yeah, and I suppose the reason we're debating this is because we very rarely see something like that happen, don't we?
We were actually discussing it during the match, and I can't ever remember that happening before. It's such an unusual incident. But you look at it, and it's very, very difficult when you see it in a cold light of day like that to say it's not a foul.
What about Kulusevski?
Yeah, so let's have a look then what happened earlier in the day in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Dejan Kulusevski here with Anthony Gordon, not with the head, but with the shoulder. Well, nothing was given here.
I think this is a penalty as well, Manish. I think it's a penalty anyhow, because I think of how he catches him. If you watch there, his shoulders up, he catches him in the face, he catches him in the nose. And you see here, he's nowhere near the ball.
How can they watch this? How can they watch that, Derm, and not give that as a pen? But they can watch this one with Saliba and give it as a pen. If they gave that as a pen, then I would take this one, no problem. Yeah. But I'm no way am I taking that as a penalty if they're not giving Kulusevski's one. I mean, Gordon's one. I can't believe it. I can't believe what I've just seen.
And I think, Righty, that's why I'm sat here in front of the camera talking to you, isn't it? Because if they were both given as penalties, you go, fair enough. If they were both given not as penalties, say fair enough. But when you compare them, without doubt, in my opinion, the Kulusevski is the worst of the two. I think that should be a penalty. The second one's a referee's on-field call, so that's why that's given.
Yeah, the contact is there and clear to see, isn't it?
I feel Kulusevski makes his body a little bit bigger just at the end there to make sure he doesn't get past. And for me, they're both stonewall penalties.
I think the clue here as well, Glenn, is the ball. If you watch the ball, where the ball is in relation to the challenge, he's so late. For me, it's got to be a penalty.
Yeah. Another flashpoint in the game at the Amex, Dermot, was when the penalty was being prepared to be taken. Jorginho, amongst the whole group of players on the edge of the 18-yard box. You will see it, I suppose, in the second angle. You can just see a kick out there with his right leg on the Brighton player. Nothing was spotted or given at the time. Is there a punishment to be warranted here?
Well, I think you've got to go through the nuts and bolts of this. Firstly, priority for the officials on the field is the penalty, you know, is the goalkeeper moving, all that. Nobody really looks outside the penalty area for that. It gets picked up by the VAR, and then he's hamstrung to a certain extent because you look at that and you think it's petulant. I don't think it's a red card, and I don't think anybody would expect a red card for that. So therefore, he's got all or nothing. He doesn't think it's a red card. He can't recommend a yellow card. He can't recommend a public admonishment. So his hands are tied. So effectively, they've got away. But
so
what
VAR could only interfere if it was a straight red?
Absolutely.
But Derm, in the rules of the game, if you attempt to use or use excessive force against an opponent, and even if you don't make contact, then that's deemed to be a red card. Is that not the case there?
It's got to be deemed violent or an act of violence or brutality, Glenn. And hand on heart, I would never say that was a violent kick out. I think it's petulant. I think it's very, very unwise. But I didn't expect him to see a red card.
So, Derm, suppose he does that. He can't see where Veltman is. Suppose he catches him on his knee there. Then what?
Well, I think that
because he can't see where he is. It's not like he's like we saw the elbow the other day where he's just missed.
Pedro, as it happened.
Yeah. So with that, he can't see him. It's petulant. If he catches his knee, then it's violent. He can't see if he's going to catch the knee or not.
Yeah, but you can only go on what happens, Righty. You know, you look at that.
It's the intention, though.
Yeah, but I still go back. That's petulant. I don't think it's violent, and I think we've got to be very careful. We don't get wrapped up in what happened a week ago.
But Derm, what about Pedro's one? That looks like it was petulant.
We can't get wrapped up in it. We all know, Righty, that a week ago, if a red card had come out there, nobody would be arguing with it. It was, you know, that was a sheer act of violence that went on unpunished.
OK. Dermot, thanks very much indeed. It's only taken you 4 days of 2025 to get your tin hat on. But thanks very much indeed.
Look at Dermot, his cool blue shirt. Look at him.
Cheers, Dermot, as always. A former Premier League referee, Dermot Gallagher. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what that does to appease your point of view.
Me
I know at the end of the day, you just want a level of consistency.
Yeah, that's all it is.
As everybody else does.
See, I'll go with Glenn. Like Glenn says, like he'll give that as a stonewall penalties.
Yeah.
You know, if they gave Kulusevski's, then I would say, yeah, they've got to do it. I'm sorry, the inconsistency is not good enough. I'd go with the same with the Tottenham goal. No, I'm not. Even that one's confused me. I don't know what to believe in it. I don't know what to do.
Okay.